Welcome, Patriots.
The New York Times published an article. After USAID's death, fired workers find few jobs and much loss. This talks about Cheryl Cowan, who's 57. She was making $272,000 a year as a senior VP for USAID. Yeah, okay. You expect me to feel sorry for you? The New York Times published an article. Expect for other people to feel sorry for you? You were making 300 grand pretty much every year. Thousands of dollars per month, and you didn't put any money away, and somehow that's our fault. Let me tell you, the federal worker purge started in 2022. I know because I was one of them under Biden. And when I tell people that, they kind of look at me like I'm strange because they think this was only Elon and Trump who started with, the Doge cuts because of all the fraud and because of USAID and all the money that they were stealing from American citizens. I remember every single time when Joe Biden went to Congress for one aid package for Ukraine and the total of $500 billion to Ukraine, $2 trillion to take care of the illegals. You got money going over there because of Slim Slacks Obama to Iran. And now finally, President Trump is dealing with that problem so we can sleep peacefully at night. But of course, the liberals are going to whine that it's all Trump's fault. Nah, because the federal purge started under Joe Biden because they went to the Fed too many times, borrowed too much money to take care of all these freaking illegals and anchor babies. And now this bizatch, Cheryl Cowan, is whining because she has to take a $19 an hour job at a coffee shop instead of her cushy $272,000 a year NGO job where she was senior VP. Now she has to cut back. By the looks of your picture, you could cut back on a few meals. She has to cut back. She can't take vacations to the Cayman Islands no more. She has to behave herself. So now the New York Times and other leftist media outlets are publishing stories rehashing this idea that somehow the federal workers were wronged. How come there wasn't all these damn articles when me and my coworkers were purged in 2022? Y'all didn't write shit about us. You didn't y'all have carried water for these federal employees, by the way, who got 8 months of pay. Y'all got 8 months of pay. I didn't get 8 months of pay after they booted my ass out the door. They were like, bye, darky. We're not going to see you later. No, you don't get nothing. Y'all got 8 months of pay beyond the date you were let go. And you're still whining. That shit was early 2025 and you still whining. We don't care that you got let go. USAID, we had that funeral already. We buried that issue. We don't want to hear about USAID. That's done. Y'all robbed and stole from us. And now the golden age is coming where we're not going to just be stolen from and held up at the damn railroad tracks. Stop whining about federal employees losing their jobs. We absolutely don't give a shit. Thank you for your attention to this matter.
Spot on.
This has been my mentions within the past 48 hours nonstop. Their threats are literally copied and pasted from This Living Mistakes manifesto, which sounds like it was pasted directly from every mainstream media outlet.
And he also wrote this: I am no longer willing to permit a pedophile, rapist, and traitor to coat my hands with his crimes. What's your reaction to that?
Oh, but it's also always no clear motive why one political side accomplished all of this in 1 year and publicly mocks their victims' families. You're seeing in real time how the most civilized and advanced societies suddenly justified exterminating people with the most educated being its greatest proponents. Now you know why so many good German bystanders were convinced doing this was for the common good. Except today's most educated claim they're now fighting the Nazis, so they can justify the extermination. The media says they're literally Bonhoeffer for hunting down their dissidents using the same old blood libels. The irony is that these are the same anti-fascist fascists who came up with the concept of insightful rhetoric as a reason to orchestrate our speech codes and then kill us for breaking them. They're the same HR types who got us fired for our dangerous beliefs. They're the same media outlets set on deplatforming anyone who questions them with their hate speech while making this trendy and cool.
Murder those motherfuckers in the street. Let the streets soak in their red capitalist bloods, dude.
How many times are we going to placate, apologize to them, and
Yeah, I'm a capitalist.
turn the other cheek to the people who get away with telling us to die with the media's blessing?
Yep. They want us dead, actually.
Hey, so you might want to go wake up your friends that are part of the Nothing is Happening crowd because something's happening.
Currently underway, federal agents seen leaving the Quality Learning Center.
Sources tell Fox that federal agents are raiding about 22 businesses across Minneapolis this morning.
I think there's a lot more than 22 of them, though. It's a start.
And sources say many of them are tied to Somali-owned operations. And just checking my emails now, it looks like we got a statement from DHS sharing, quote, Homeland Security investigations in cooperation with our law enforcement partners executed criminal search warrants in Minneapolis relating to the rampant fraud of U.S. taxpayers' dollars.
So despite the best efforts of the fake-ass wannabe Black Pill America First crowd who've been trying to convince everyone within the sound of their ridiculous voices, things are happening. 22 businesses associated with the fraud that Nick Shirley caught on camera just a few months ago in Minneapolis, Minnesota, raided this morning. That's right. And the best part, you know what else is supposed to be happening today? That's right. Governor Twinkle Toes, Sparkle Fingers, is running his State of the State address. So on the day that Tim Walz is having his State of the State address in Minnesota, federal agents are raiding 22 businesses across the city in connection with massive amounts of fraud. Wait, I thought nothing was happening.
Yeah. It's a start. It's a start. There's a lot more than 22. I guarantee you.
Geraldo brought up this idea that the left and the right are equal when it comes to
Yeah.
calls for violence or
She
acts of violence. You have done an
She brings the facts on this. He can't say anything.
amazing job of digging through the data. And what did you find?
All right, so Geraldo, see if you find this compelling.
Okay.
Hey, Colin.
So it seems to me that there are three main sources that you hear a lot from the mainstream media that allegedly prove that the problem we have right now of political violence is a both sides problem. There's the Cato Institute, there's the Prosecution Project out of the University of Cincinnati, and then there's the Center for Strategic and International Studies. And these are all always shared by the likes of The Economist, the Wall Street Journal today shared Center for Strategic and International Studies. The problem is when you dig down into that data, it is so deeply flawed. Let me just give you a few examples, okay? The Prosecution Project, supposed to list all of the acts of political violence in America, does not list Charlie Kirk's assassination, does not list Trump's assassination attempts, does not list any George Floyd violence. 24 Americans lost their lives during those riots, not listed. But every white nationalist who's a drug dealer, that gets listed. So they list 33 white Aryans, Aryan Nation people who had a meth lab. This is political violence because they happen to be white nationalists. All right, Cato does not list the 9/11 victims, does not list any George Floyd violence. Center for Strategic and International Studies, where does it get its data from? The ADL, highly partisan, and the Southern, which just was revealed to have allegedly been funding the very racists that they were supposed to be fighting. And finally, I just have to mention this, the Center for Strategic and International Studies has in its methodology section, it says all anti-Semitism is right-wing. Any attacks on Jews or Jewish institutions, they reclassified it. If it was in the name of Palestinians, they reclassified it as ethno-nationalist. So by their definition, there's no such thing as left-wing anti-Semitism, which we all know is just nonsense. This is the data. It is flawed. Shame on the Wall Street Journal and shame on The Economist, because they're giving a flawed view. And I totally agree with Katie. We can't, it would be so nice to say, kumbaya, we all share the problem. You cannot fix a problem if you are lying about what it is.
Yep. All right, this next one is this woman in Afghanistan dared to be outside without her husband. They're enjoying it. There's two of them beating on her now. They aren't going light on her either. And you want that in the United States or in any part of Europe? I feel sorry for her, really. And they kill them all the time, besides that.
So apparently these are supposedly the chief employees of the Southern Poverty Law Center, which was just busted for funding the KKK, the American Nazi Party, the Unite the Right. All of the white supremacist supposed organizations were being funded by an organization made of black people. So just to make it clear, an organization in part founded by Jews, run by blacks, are funding white supremacist organizations because there's not enough actual racism from white people, which threatens their ability to collect on welfare, social programs, get funding from the government, make millions, basically. So yeah, I hope this dispels white guilt, because white guilt is pretty much what these people use to rob you blind of your taxes. If anyone is a slave in the big 2026, it is the white working man.
Okay. Yeah. They need to divide to stay in power. That's what it is. Okay, this one's caught on camera. This is Sarah Gonzalez there. Whistleblower exposes daycare owner.
He sells them. He sells visas. I mean, these are people who can pay him 20 grand for their visa, and then he gets them to work for him for next to nothing.
Is it true that you're charging $20,000 for visas? Yes. Is your dad a member of the CCP? We are outside.
Where do you even get a car like that? Wait a minute, let me rewind that a little bit. Where do you get a car like that? Is that specially made or something? Wow.
We are outside of Allen Infant Care Center. Allen Infant Care used to actually be a place called Golden Acorn Academy. These two daycares actually are owned by a holdings company called Golden She Holdings LLC. Now, Golden She actually is affiliated with both Allen Infant Care Center and also DFW ABA Center, which is allegedly an autism behavioral therapy center. This location is the infant care center, allegedly, and the autism center is literally the building like right behind it. They have sponsored lifetime 37 H-1Bs. They have filled out 55 labor condition applications, according to USCIS. The thing that is so curious about this one, when you go digging in the data and the LCAs, is that you wouldn't think that a daycare center would need, market research analysts or supply chain analysts. And yet this company actually told the United States government that they needed foreign workers to fill those jobs. By the way, they are still sponsoring H-1Bs in 2026. We've got a labor condition application for a market research analyst very recently. Before they officially rebranded, I did a little bit of preliminary investigation at this location, and I actually ended up running into someone who told me just how bad this one gets.
Hi, I was just looking for more information about the daycare.
It's not open.
Oh, it's not open anymore? Okay, what is it now?
Nothing's open right now.
It's being renovated or?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm just curious because I know that this location is associated with multiple H-1B visas. And I'm just looking for more information about that. Are the H-1B visa workers on site here?
No.
Okay.
Because immigration has already been involved with him.
Okay.
They know all about all his H1B visa.
Yes.
There's been a lady from UCI, like an officer lady with badge and everything, who's been here over 3 years, maybe 3 or 4 times, investigating him.
Sure.
I'm surprised that nothing's happened.
Okay.
Because I know what he's been up to, and they're good.
Really? Can you give me any more information on what to look for?
He sells them. He sells visas.
Okay.
Okay. So even when we were open and operational, at no time did we need to have a business analyst earning $75,000 a year,
right.
a marketing specialist earning $50,000 a year. Right. Their salaries were more than the revenue of the entire store.
Yeah.
And I was unaware that I didn't know I had all these people working here who were so smart and handsome.
Right.
That I learned when the lady,
yes.
when they came here.
Yeah.
And she's like, who's this person?
Right. Right.
It's just on the phone. They say no, they work for a different branch. So, but I know that he has sponsored people with visas, and then he gets them to work for him for next to nothing. A couple of the girls I've said, you've got to get out. He's not paying you enough.
Yeah.
And a couple of them have managed to get out. But for the most part, I think he has them by the short and curlies. Now, none of these people come from poor homes. I mean, these are people who can pay him 20 grand for their visa.
I see.
Someone's paying their rent, paying their car payments, and all of that stuff. Because when they're working here, they're not earning enough to make rent.
Right.
So the arrangement is made in China.
Yeah.
These are families of means.
I see.
And they're using him to live. So once they get here, he either puts them to work for cheap, or they set about trying to find work where someone will genuinely sponsor them.
Right.
This is just a foothold in.
Yeah.
Most of them coming on student visas, the ones that work for him, or he sponsors them.
Right.
So as soon as they get here, if they can't find a job, they are studying. These are the most well-educated people you've ever seen in your whole life, because they've got degrees at the beginning.
Right.
That's how they stay.
Right.
So these people, these young, and it is mostly girls, he doesn't seem to like the boys quite as much, because he probably can't, culturally can't manipulate them.
Yeah, probably so.
So it's mostly young girls, and then once they get here, under the thumb.
Right.
The only reason I know that he sells them, for sure, is because I have I had a cousin who wanted to come out and work here, and I had mentioned that, and he said, well, he can pay me $20,000 and I'll sponsor him. And I absolutely not.
Of course.
I do not want to be holding.
Where are they getting all this money beforehand? It has to be these NGOs.
Beholden to you.
Right. Right. Exactly right.
You're a crazy person.
Right.
So Mr. Yuan Yao is the owner.
And I have to ask, is that his metallic rose gold? I'm like, oh, you make this much money running a daycare like that?
He's the government in China. Because he explained to me that when you make it rich here in America, then you go and get a job in the government. But in China, you get a job in the government, and that's how you get rich.
Right.
So I can just say he's getting his money from somewhere, and I think he's getting it from his dad. His dad's works, and his dad's hired in the government. What turned me was seeing how much, I'm talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars for PPP loans, PPP stuff. Then there was another handout from Texas Workforce Commission for childcare centers. The man is making freaking hand over fist hundreds of dollars. Did he spend it on staff? Did he update curriculum? Did he buy more equipment for the classrooms? Did he fix the playground? None of that. I don't feel weird.
Right.
I guess paying back electricity bills or something easily for that.
You probably went to that nice BMW out there. Yeah.
We figured, let's come here, let the owner speak for himself, and see what we can find out. Hi, yes. So I just had some questions about your company.
Who are you?
My name is Sarah Gonzalez, and I just had some questions about all of the visas that you're sponsoring.
So I need I can't like the video camera. Please understand. So maybe we can go to my office. I use the dictionary to translate it.
To translate? Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
So what company you from?
Blaze Media.
Blaze Media for what?
Well, that's the company.
Yeah, what company for with my company?
So Golden She Holdings. I had some questions about all of the visas that you were sponsoring.
So your company is not government, not place, not anything. Why I answered you?
Well, because of this form right here. This is the U.S. Department of Labor form, fact sheet 62F.
I can give you my lawyer's phone number.
No, so
you can call my lawyer.
So you must, as an H-1B employer, make the following materials available to the public within one working day.
For you.
You do. You have to make it available to the public according to the Department of Labor.
I need to call my lawyer because.
Well, do you want to get him on the phone?
Yes, I can on the phone.
Yeah, that'd be great if you could ask him.
Okay, I need to ask first if you want waiting for here. Okay.
Yeah, we can stand here and wait. Yeah, no problem.
I need your name card, and they will contact you.
Your lawyer will?
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm happy to do that.
Okay, you can give it to me.
Well, right, but what I'm saying is, just so you're aware, the Department of Labor requires you to provide this to the public. You, not your attorney.
Hey, where is your say? For now, I just only say, give your name card, my lawyer will be contact you. Mm-hmm. Only for this. My lawyer will be contact you.
That's great. So why do you have 37 H-1Bs for daycare that's totally shut down and another one that doesn't look like it's at all active? Is it?
This is before. This daycare just closed and will be new open.
But you have new H-1Bs listed. Is it true that you're...
H-1Bs listed. Is it true that you're...
Is it true that you're charging $20,000 for visas?
Yes, I can call somebody. I can answer me. Somebody is leave another country because there is leave another company because the daycare for now we need a
he's lying.
New painting, new everything.
Well, where are they working now?
Hey, Kirk, what do you think of that car? Where the hell do you get a car like that? Where do you get a car like that? He doesn't actually work. He just lives off the government.
No, but somebody is working now.
Well, where are they working then?
Which is us.
Hey, is your dad a member of the CCP? Is your dad a member of the CCP?
I only can tell you everything is legal. It's true.
Is it legal to charge $20,000 for people to come in here and pay to play? Is that legal? We're gonna get you. Isn't it interesting that he's got this amazing, nice car? It's so crazy. How is he earning his money when he has a crap hole like this and a crap hole like that? So crazy.
He's also getting money for a daycare.
You have the child. You're not leaving. I will call the police.
Okay, well, you know what? Get us the public access files. Call the police. I'll call the police on you for scamming my system. Here are a few other tidbits about this company. They had PPP loans in both the first and second round of the loans, given and forgiven upwards of $100,000. They had a 2022 bankruptcy filing. On top of that, a lot of their employees are listed elsewhere, including Los Angeles, California. I'm not sure what someone living in LA could actually do for a daycare center, but I'd like to find out. Interestingly enough,
how do you get it in copper?
There was one LCA that was filed that I guess would fit the vibe of this place for a kindergarten teacher. But then the obvious question becomes, why would you need to import a foreign kindergarten teacher? You can't find any here? Well, it's the next day and we're still waiting for Juan's public access files. This certainly seems suspicious, and you better believe that we will be sending all of this to our contacts over at USCIS and the Department of Labor, because we have a lot of questions now. Why is a daycare that is...
I guarantee you that there's just so much on their table right now because of all the fraud that it's hard to go after it all.
Not actually operating, still sponsoring H-1B visas, bringing people over. Why does this person have an autism behavior?
Oh, don't worry. All they care about is that they vote.
Behavioral center that appears to not even be operational as well. And how are they able to continue bringing these people over when it seems like there's no work to even be done? That is what we are hoping USCIS and the Department of Labor actually finds out.
Yep.
Yeah, hi. Black dude here. Black dude. Slave black. My ancestors were slaves in this country. The 14th Amendment, birthright citizenship, was written for them. and I'm a beneficiary of it because my ancestors were slaves, and I argue against birthright citizenship for illegals and people who want to do it the wrong way. So, what does that make me? Because I'm pretty sure I'm not a Klan member. I would fail the entrance interview for it. Matter of fact, as soon as I walked in the door, they'd be like, turn around and get out. So what does that make me? And why are you just attributing that to the Klan? By the way, speaking of the Klan, they were being funded by the Southern Poverty Law Center, which their board is made up of all black folks. So what does that say about them too? I got questions, bro. I got questions. Maybe you can answer them for me, since you seem to be the authority on all things Klan related and things. Let me know. Zeke Arkham, got you 6. Bye.
Yeah. Kind of wonder. Trump tells Europe to pay up on the military, or else.
Donald Trump wants the rest of the world to pay for the protection America's been giving them for free for 80 years. Will Europe have to defund their welfare state in favor of a warfare state? Since the Iran war, Trump's been increasingly forthcoming that Europe and Asia need to step up when he needs them after 80 years of America helping them. So far, the Europeans have been digging in. Italian Prime Minister Meloni asserted that, quote, allies are not vassals. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer, sporting an 18% approval rating just ahead of cholera, says he's, quote, fed up with Trump and wants to make new friends. Amazing how rude the health gets when you stop giving them free beer. Of course, anti-Trump media is framing this as the world turning on America. Bloomberg breathlessly reports on a, quote, slew of world leaders jetting off to Beijing to beg for Chinese money, while Trump, quote, fights with allies. Thing is, those fights are part of a long-standing Trump goal, sometimes termed the Mar-a-Lago Accord, that the U.S. should get something in return for the hundreds of billions we spend defending Europe and Asia. The name echoes the 1980s Plaza Accord, where Reagan told allies if they want access to American markets, they have to stop artificially making their currencies weak, which makes their exports cheap. And in Japan's case, they have to open their domestic markets to U.S. exports. Now, Japan's markets was mostly talk, but the currency worked. In the following 2 years, the value of the dollar dropped by nearly half. The yen went from 250 per dollar to 160, making Japanese exports to the U.S. almost 50% more expensive, and U.S. exports to Japan that much cheaper. The Mar-a-Lago Accords would be this on steroids because Trump is not only using access to American markets, he's explicitly using the military umbrella as a bargaining chip. The idea being we continue protecting Europe, Japan and Korea, Canada, Australia, the Gulf, and in return, they stop manipulating their currencies. They give full access to U.S. goods, or they invest trillions to create jobs in America. Plus, they start carrying their weight on military. And my favorite so-called century bonds, where allies convert their interest-paying federal debt, which was borrowed to protect them, into 50 to 100-year debt that pays zero interest. This would save us roughly $200 billion a year of interest, which would cover most of the $300 billion a year we spend defending them. So far, Mar-a-Lago has worked a charm as countries scrambled to dodge tariffs and keep Uncle Sugar on the hook for defense. Dozens of countries have slashed their own tariffs and restrictions on American goods. Allies have promised at least $4 trillion in new investment, which might be worth 4 million jobs. And they're all hiking their own defense spending. NATO members are going from 1.5% of GDP to 2.5% last year. And
actually, a lot of the military equipment they're buying it from USA.
On their way to 5% by 2035, which would actually have Europe paying more in defense as a percent of GDP than we do. Japan and Korea are close. Japan went from 0.9% pre-Trump to 1.7% on its way to 2%. Korea was already high because of North Korea, but they've hiked from 2.5% to 3%, whilst paying a bigger share of the bases we so generously provide as a tripwire. So what's next? Brought to you by the Bitcoin Way. Monetizing America's security umbrella was long overdue, and with the others will start paying their own bills. Either way, the day is coming when America is no longer the sucker at every table. Follow for daily videos. Okay, we'll be watching. See you next time.
Okay, meanwhile in Germany, migrants allegedly sexually assaulting girls. People's had enough. People have had enough of that crap. Tell you that.
In 1973, in objection to U.S. support for the newly formed country of Israel, the OPEC countries saw that we were, because of those hippies, no longer producing enough oil to sustain ourselves. And they wanted to hurt us, so they cut supply drastically. They also further cut 5% every month through the next year till March of 1974 under the trade embargo against the U.S., where gas prices literally quadrupled for us. This is happening again. Obviously, it happened again with the fall of the Shah of Iran in 1979, or oil tripled again there. We had gas lines. People couldn't fill up their cars and go to work. So let's fast forward to
Carter put all this into motion.
Recently, OPEC controlled almost 40% of the global production, and for years, it's cut or slowed or sped up production all the time to manipulate global oil prices to their liking so they can maximize their own profits, like we saw during COVID. And they can do this because it costs them a lot less to bring that oil to market than it does here in America, probably about half, due to the fact that they have virtually no labor laws and no environmental standards. As you can see right here, they're burning like acres of tires at a time. So why does this matter to you at home? Well, with OPEC breaking apart, and no doubt this is because some behind-the-scenes talks from the Trump administration, there's no more drilling quotas. Countries can and will pump as much oil as they can to get as much money as they can. You see, the UAE under OPEC was only, due to joint agreements and things like that within the organization, was only producing a little over 3 million barrels a day. But they have the capacity to produce 5 million, which they're going to start doing now that they're not constrained by OPEC, which is almost entirely offsetting the Iranian production. They only were producing 3 million barrels total a day. This is why Iran was targeting the UAE with so many strikes and drones during the kickoff of Trump's bombing campaign, because Trump was immediately in touch with the UAE about picking up the oil exports that Iran would not be able to fulfill when the blockade went into place. No, yeah, but the libs said Trump doesn't have a plan. It's actually remarkable. Here's the awesome part. Because the UAE is now ramping up production to compete with them, so will Saudi Arabia, who they've already said they would, who's right now only producing 7.5 million barrels per day, but they have the capacity to produce over 12 million a day. Look, if just those two countries start maxing out their production, which they can do by the end of this year, Iran's oil market is completely irrelevant, because the region is now producing more than 3 million more barrels than when Iran was in the game 2 months ago. And here's the best part. All of this oil can be exported from those two countries without the use of the Strait of Hormuz. Here, look, you can see it. The UAE can load outside the Strait. Saudi can export to their west coast, to the Red Sea, or to the south or north, or the Suez Canal into the Mediterranean to export to Europe. And Trump can maintain the blockade and literally starve Iran indefinitely. And why is that a good thing, other than we don't like them? We also don't like China. And they don't have enough oil to run their country right now.
Then the people can get their country back.
Which means they certainly don't have the resources to, I don't know, wage a war against Taiwan, to take their semiconductors away from us, or undercut us on production now, because it costs them basically $20.
Plus, China has been getting cheap oil and undercutting us on all the markets and all their goods.
There's a gallon for fuel in China today, which is why China's real estate market has essentially wiped out all of its gains from the last 20. Can you imagine buying a house 20 years ago and it's worth less today than it was then? That's China. So just real quick to recap what Trump just did, America is now the global leader in oil exports. More countries are buying their oil on the dollar. Iran can't export almost any oil through our blockade, a little bit over land, maybe. China's not getting 50% of its previous oil. The biggest oil cartel that manipulated prices has been broken up. And because of this little 45-day hiccup in supply, half of America's domestic political opposition to drilling has now flipped over to the support side because they realize we need it. And, oh, by the way, there's also new massive political support for the new oil refinery that Trump announced months ago that he was criticized for, but now everybody knows we need.
Well, the problem also in America, our refineries are made really for a lot worse oil, dirtier, thicker oil. So we have to ship our oil because we got better oil. It's not as hi Tammy, howdy. Our oil is better actually, so it has to be shipped overseas to be refined. We can't even refine our own oil because since Carter, we haven't been able to build a refinery. And Trump has got it, so they're going to be building one. It probably won't be in service until near the end of his term, but it will be helping coming online in about a year and a half, 2 years.
Look, I've been giving you the gist of this for a while now, but remember, I told you that he had like 10 to 30 days to open the supply lines, meaning to open the Strait of Hormuz, assuming that that was the only way to get more oil to the market. Trump was like, yeah, hold my beer. Pulled this rabbit out of a hat and showed us what's behind door number 3. I didn't even see this coming. By the way, not one word of this global overhaul plan leaked the White House the whole time.
He loves the Constitution.
Amen. What was I going to go with next? Let's go with this one here about
pull up the Shema tweet if you could, Rob. Pull up the Shema to Tom. I'm going to come to you first.
You won't believe the tax bill out there in California they're about to do. Unbelievable.
And Adam to you next. So here's Shema. We know about the billion.
I think part of it is trying to ruin the economy for the national elections.
Tax that California is talking about, right? 5%, but it's just the billionaires. Just the billionaires. And then Shamat Palapatia posts this tweet that I retweeted. The devil's in the what? You ever hear the line? The devil's in the what? So the billionaire tax is actually on everyone tax. The billionaire tax is a new tax protocol written by 4 professors who don't believe in the American dream. Some of them aren't even American. Go figure. Despite its name, it applies to every Californian resident who currently has assets or ever will. The creators named it the billionaire tax, so you would get into a fraud and wouldn't look closely at what it actually does to you. On page 26, it explains how the government can convert to an everyone tax without voter approval. Bingo! Motive. They can also adjust the tax to be a yearly tax, not just a one-time thing. Again, without your what?
Approval.
Here's how the tax would work. As a voter, you're being asked to approve a tax that would require you to, 1, list all your assets and the value of each, then submit them to California Franchise Tax Board. 2, authorize the tax board to appraise your assets and confirm the value of each. 3, pay a penalty of up to 40% of your tax bill if the board determines your reported value was too low in their opinion. 4, allow the tax board to subpoena your financial records from every one of your financial institutions for auditing. This everyone tax runs 34 pages of shifty language describing how the government plans to take your assets. Read the fine print and decide for yourself. If this were truly a billionaire tax, it would be 3 pages. It's 34 pages so it can create the mechanisms to steal from all of you. Go a little bit lower, Rob, if he has the picture on there or not. I thought he did.
California.
I thought he did. So, Tom, before we find the picture, Tom, your thoughts on this? Because the average person's like, we should tax the billionaires more. Where do you stand with this?
Says, if you only vote on headlines, you deserve the fine print. If you read everything through and you're an informed voter, then you should be evangelizing and being an ambassador of truth in your circle around the people you work and you live and you go to church and soccer and everything else with. This reminds me of when Nancy Pelosi was cornered. Vinny, you remember this? Nancy Pelosi gets cornered on, what was the bill? The healthcare bill? Says, well, we'll know what's in it after we pass it. Do you remember that?
Yeah, of course.
She gets cornered. Guess what? This is the same thing. This is not a coincidence. This is the way government works. The way government works is you run headlines to create emotions. This is the Democrat playbook. You run headlines to create emotion. People go, oh my gosh. And
that's why they like emergencies. That's why they never cure the homeless crisis and all that kind of stuff. So they can spend money, which is money laundering.
They say, good news, we're taxing the rich. Bad news. Now I think you're rich. And that's the way this is working. And Chamath's pointed it out. This is government at its worst. This is the way Pelosi talked about it. Pat, I am unsurprised. I knew it was coming because I said, you just wait. It's going to be the opposite of Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders was, all the millionaires need to go. All the millionaires need to go. Then it's all the billionaires because Sanders became a millionaire. Remember, he shifted.
He never worked a regular job a day in his life.
All of his rhetoric, and there's all those funny videos how he doesn't say millionaires anymore. He just says billionaires because he joined the club with 3 houses. Well, guess what? It's here. This is exactly what we said was going to happen. Pat, people got to be educated voters. Don't vote on headlines. Find out what it says. We've been taught to pick up juice. I see people picking up juice at Trader Joe's, at the supermarket, and I'll see them look at the back. And I have personally heard people saying, honey, that's not juice. That's 180 calories of sugar. I've seen it. So we're learning to do that. We have to do the same thing with the bills we're voting on. Check the ingredients because it doesn't.
Our media doesn't help with that at all. In fact, they promote the bad ones.
Government is just not out to take from one or to impugn one. They're out to impugn and control all of us.
Rob, is that the page of what it says?
I believe so. 25 of 32.
25 of 32. Where's the part that it says at any point? Did you find that part or no? Okay, Adam, I'll come to you. I'll look for this here right now. Adam, go for it.
Yeah, well, we need to stop villainizing rich people because it's the easiest thing to do. Well, the rich people did it. Well, you know, the capitalists, it's their problem. The victim Olympics is a real thing. Let me tell you something. You know, every year I go to the Special Olympics. My friends put it on. You know, we have a problem with entitlement and welfare in this country. Let me tell you something. Unless you qualify to compete in the Special Olympics, meaning like you just literally can't take care of yourself, I don't want to hear about your problems. Nobody cares. The victim Olympics, the blame. Oh, why do the rich people do this? They can't do this. Remember when AOC showed up to like the Met Gala and taxed the rich? This is their whole notion right now. I think there needs to be a new conversation in this country between what capitalism is and what socialism is. One of your most viewed things you've ever done, PPD, was the Jubilee debate. People would hit me up. You know, people like hit you up. Oh, I saw this.
Hey, Miss Shirley.
Oh, I saw this. People were fascinated about that because that's a conversation that needs to happen.
Okay.
I
You're
truly
saying
believe
hi
the
here.
capitalists, the business owners, need to educate their workers how salaries work.
See, I can't see who's in here unless you comment, really. I can see a number of people, but I can't see the actual person's name.
How taxes work. Because if you ever hear the socialists talk, the Democratic Socialists of America talk, they talk about, we represent working people. Working people. We're all working people. So, remember, you told a story about when Trump did his tax cuts, about, you said, however long you've been with me at the company, for every month you've been here, you're going to get $100. Is that the correct story?
Yep.
So someone who's been working there for 3 years says, oh my God, just got $3,500. It's incredible. That, you know, you say, don't show, tell. It's better to, what's the thing you always say?
I don't know. Which one are
you say? You said it's better to show than tell, essentially?
Yeah.
There's a phrase that you always talk about.
Yeah.
But you showed them what it's like when you get a tax cut. You're going to reap the benefits of it.
Yeah.
There's too much of a gap between the rich people and the working class. And I think a conversation is due to say,
those are
I'm paying
things.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the two different things, I see what you're saying. You're talking about the taxes. But the reason that that people are advocating for the taxes is because the poor people don't understand the benefit to the rich person, the job creator, the entrepreneur. They took the risk. They started this company, and you have the benefit of it.
No question about it. For me, when it comes down,
A country the more a country produces, the wealthier it get. The people get in it. The standard of living all goes up for everybody.
Down to a conversation like this, when they think they're just targeting billionaires, they're not targeting billionaires. Mamdani's not going after billionaires. Mamdani is,
productivity.
you know, he's a guy that he would like to eventually, in an ideal world, Mamdani would like to be a communist, is what he would like to be. He would like to get rid of all the billionaires, and he would like there to be no existence of any billionaires. I even think he said that in a
His family's filthy rich. What the hell is he talking about? They want control.
past before, that he thinks we don't need billionaires, right? And many others have said that as well. The issue with affordability is something that we have. Whoever is able to figure that part out is going to win elections. Whoever. The other day I had Dominic Tarczynski on, and you know what's the one thing they do in Poland now that they came up with 3 years ago? I think it's a brilliant idea, Vinny. It's in Poland now, if you're 26 or younger, you pay no federal income tax. If you're 26 or younger. So if you make $100,000 a year, guess how much you keep? $100,000. If you make $500,000 a year, you keep $500,000.
So make all your money by the time you're 26 and then retire, I guess. I don't know.
So I said, what if we did that for 30 or under? What if you're under 30?
Well, then you could put a big down payment on a house, probably.
Whatever you make, you keep. What if you did that? What would happen to the youth? And what if you said, if you have 4 kids or more, from the age your kids are 0 to 18 years old, you pay no federal income taxes. Think about that for a second. But it's 4 kids, husband and wife, the 2 of you guys. Not like the Middle Eastern way. I'm talking like the traditional way, 4 kids, right? I don't want you to accelerate it and go and say, let's practice polygamy so I can get 4 kids in 1 year because I'm making $100 million this year. Yeah. I want to accelerate the process.
Create a charity.
Yeah, but I do think there's going to be someone in the next 12, 24, 36 months that's going to come out with some creative ideas to make sure the youth don't pay any taxes until they're 30 years old.
Because you're going to incentivize that kid to hustle and bust their butt and make money, and then you're going to have other people to have a bunch of kids.
It is a real issue. Can we get to the next car thing? Why Vinny doesn't want to buy a car?
The thing I just want to give you credit, you always talk about more is caught than taught. That's what I was thinking about. Did you hear what Bill Maher said? So if you want to go look at this story, Bill Maher basically called out Bernie Sanders about taxes. I think it's an important addendum to basically the story.
I saw that.
He basically said last week was tax
You were
day.
about to go to it.
Yeah, I paid the government, if you add state tax, local tax, sales, property, and Obamacare, probably almost 60% of what I earn in California. He said, while I'm sure the super rich with our army of accountants and corporate loopholes get away with murder, us regular rich people pay a ton of taxes. And here's the numbers. The top 10% of America pays 72%.
What they do is they put all the taxes up real high, and then you get paid off to get a loophole for yourself in there. That's how it works. Your buddy gets the loophole.
Percent of all taxes. Top 10%, the bottom half, so the 50% of this country that's basically earning less than $40,000, do you know how much they pay in taxes? 3%. So this whole taxing the rich, federally, where can they go? They'll leave the country. But if you do it in a state, how many people are going to leave California? You left California 13%. How many people leave New York? So more is taught than taught when it affects you.
This is just the beginning. I can't tell you. Yesterday, I'm at a football game, and a lady pulls up to me. She says, when are you guys going to get size 14? I'm like, ma'am, we just got size 7. We just got size 8.5. 14 is coming here soon. We got 7.5. Says, my husband, I need size 14. My dad comes home from church. We're done eating. We're at the house with Sean and Grace, and my dad says, when are you getting size 14? I said, what do you mean size 14? Today at church, somebody saw my Valuetainment logo. They came to me. They said, are you getting size 14 or not? So I'm like, is there like an epidemic going on with size 14?
Who needs shoes? Shaq?
Yeah, well, no, Shaq needs size 22, 23.
Wow. Ridiculous.
But let me tell you, it's exciting stuff that's going on with the shoe. Everywhere I'm going now, people are asking about how come my husband bought it. We were at first skeptical. Why would somebody like PBD come out with shoes? You're not a shoe company. Why would you come out with a shoe? And then you go to Italy to do it. And then it's designed in Florida, and it's got the super foam technology on the bottom of it, super comfortable. Yes. Every day I've been wearing this thing since September 9th. I've worn the shoe every single day except for 8 days. Now I've not worn since September 9th, just to see what it feels like, what it looks like. Function.
This is an ad. I didn't realize it was an ad. Sorry. Not at first, anyways. All right, here's Stossel about Minnesota, the fraud there.
The federal government loses up to $521 billion annually to fraud.
Politicians create programs to help the needy, and lots of the money gets stolen.
Since 2020, fraudsters have taken at least $36 billion and as much as $3 trillion.
It's easier to get people on benefits than it is to get people off benefits.
Andrew McClenahan's nonprofit works to stop fraud.
We support the prevention, investigation, and prosecution of welfare fraud.
McClenahan says part of the problem is that agencies are judged on how quickly they give money out, but they rarely check whether it goes to the right people.
So you're measuring the success by the amount of money you put out.
President Biden said, we will catch cheaters.
My message to those cheats out there is this: you can't hide. We're going to find you.
Yeah, they want their kickback. That's what it is.
But they rarely do.
We can't find $150 billion.
There's nothing you can do when you're giving out that much money.
Sure you can. It takes less than a second to verify things with data connections these days.
But Elon Musk at Doge learned the government seldom uses modern data connections.
You think with AI and everything, it'd be even easier to catch them.
Many records are stored not on computers, but on paper, here, underground.
There's a limestone mine where we store all the retirement paperwork. This mine looks like something out of the 50s. So it looks like it's like a time warp.
They're relying on rules and regulations that were written for pen and paper in the 1970s and 80s.
1.26 million. What was that money spent? Ask about there aren't any kids.
Minnesota recently became the visible example of how easily programs are exploited. And government officials didn't uncover that. This YouTuber did.
I've come by this place 100 times. I've never seen a child here, ever.
It's weird that this kid does what all these government investigators didn't do.
There was articles back in 2018 talking about the millions of dollars in suitcases being flown out of Minneapolis and the widespread fraud that's up there. But it took a 20-year-old with an iPhone to go in there and expose it on Twitter.
Hello, we'd like to ask where the money's going.
Once Nick Shirley publicized the fraud, the White House froze billions
back to their terrorist countries
in welfare payments.
What they are doing is creating confusion, chaos, trying to intimidate people.
Progressives defend all the handouts.
There is no reason for them to fully stop funding these programs. The only reason they are doing that is for PR purposes.
This is on my watch. I am accountable for this.
But Minnesota's governor allowed it.
Yeah, he should be in jail.
To go on for years. He blames the laws.
These are poorly written, and it left openings, and the goal was to get the money out.
They sure did that. As long as you're giving out millions in handouts, there's going to be lots of fraud. There's no way to stop it.
You're not wrong, John. In fact, during COVID, we saw it with the unemployment insurance.
I just been swiping for EDD. Go to the bank, get a stack at least.
EDD is California's unemployment insurance.
I got a shot at the Donald Trump.
They all need to go.
Swipe money President Trump rushed out to states for pandemic relief.
Stealing from the government has been glorified for decades.
$24 billion was lost on homelessness spending, $55 billion during the pandemic.
Fraud goes on in every state.
$250 billion.
$120 million.
$21 million stolen in just Illinois.
Some stolen funds allegedly went to terrorists.
Ending up in the pockets of al-Shabaab, an al-Qaeda-linked terror group operating out of Somalia.
Everybody knows that the United States is the easiest game in town.
These are American programs. People in those other countries aren't eligible.
That's right. But if you're not checking to
it's designed that way. It's part of the design.
See where somebody lives, where they're applying.
You get reelected handing out money.
From, who they are, you're not going to find them. We literally rang the dinner bell for the whole world, and they answered.
But most of the stealing is done by Americans.
A scheme to steal $250 million from a federal program that was meant to provide meals for low-income kids.
These scammers collected funds for meals never served. They used it to buy cars, expensive purses, jewelry. They did go to jail, and so did that rapper. But that's unusual, since the handouts
one out of maybe 100
mostly come from the federal government, not local taxpayers. Many state politicians are not so eager to detect fraud. There's a profit motive in allowing fraud.
States get to retain a share of the recoveries that they have, but they don't get any rewards for stopping it.
President Trump recently gave investigators more access to state data so fraud could be better tracked. And states are obeying this?
They're actively suing the government.
California is one of 20 states suing the Trump administration over its attempt to get that sensitive information about low-income people who receive SNAP benefits.
Government.
They drag it out in court all the time so we can't find out.
Giving out trillions in handouts does create bad incentives.
Unconditional war on poverty in America.
Before our government started welfare.
That was the one that started the welfare, and that's when the blacks all started voting for Democrats.
Payments. Americans had been steadily lifting themselves out of poverty. Welfare barely changed the slope of the line. But what it did do within a few years was stop progress. Handouts taught some Americans to stay dependent on government.
Food stamps, it's just food. It's like food.
So what should be done? McClanahan says, verify eligibility first.
It also causes a lot of inflation.
That way you prevent fraud before the money goes out. And if people want to keep getting benefits,
you've got to be looking for a job, volunteering, or at least getting job training. The best welfare program, John, is a job.
A lot of those job training things can be scams too. You got to be careful with that going on. You got to actually be learning something in the direction of jobs that are needed too.
Oh, it's actually one of the most liberal countries in the entire region.
You know what?
He's talking about Iran, one of the most liberal my ass.
Is I think you and I are the only ones who haven't
people
been.
would know that.
Yes, and we haven't been to Iran. So many of my friends have been to Iran relatively recently, before the hostilities began, and they posted videos on YouTube of just walking down the street in Tehran, and the restaurants are open, and the cafes, and there's music, and people laughing and having late dinners, and it's just normal life. It's just normal life.
One of the most liberal countries in the entire region.
You know what? It is. I think you and I are the only ones who haven't
people
been.
would know that.
Yes.
Bull crap. So, here's a little of your most liberal ones. All right, this is Iran. This is the woman's husband. He is disciplining her, ties her up, makes her sit out in the hot sand all day. Then he's going to lock her up. He's one of the Durkas there in Iran. Actually, most of the people in Iran aren't like that. It's the 5% that are. I wonder if it was one of his child wives to start with. He's got to sit out in that heat, and it can get well over 110 there with all that clothes on. Unbelievable. I don't know.
Do you know anyone who's currently at the UN who is involved with child sex abuse?
Yes, I think most people that work at the UN do. Within the UN, child sex abuse is seen as a cost of doing business. French peacekeepers were abusing children in the Central African Republic. So children as young as 8 years old were being forced to give jobs in exchange for food. That is despicable. That is the opposite of what the UN is supposed to be doing. Everyone that's been involved in these cover-ups, whether of child sex abuse, without
They've been getting away with it for too long, but during Biden, it totally accelerated.
exception, has been promoted. Everyone that has reported it has
It seems like it's accelerated a lot since they brought a lot of illegals in.
tried to stop it, has been fired, or has resigned. The UN has spent more than $3 million on silencing me. The UN's position on whistleblowing, whether it's this, child sex abuse, or anything, is destroy the whistleblower.
This Assistant Secretary General is not speaking out about someone he knows who is raping multiple children because he's worried he's going to lose his job.
Yeah.
What's his name?
Yep, they need to go to jail too. Did you see that the UN put Iran on the committee about extremism, terrorism, or something like that? Something ridiculous. Also, a woman's human rights. Iran, the leaders of Iran. That's ridiculous. All right, Obama. Here's a bombshell about him from WikiLeaks.
Fox News alert, the director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, releasing a bombshell report today that shows a conspiracy by a sitting president, Barack Obama, and his intel agencies to sabotage the president-elect, Donald Trump, brainwash the electorate, and undermine the legitimacy of an election.
There is irrefutable evidence that detail how President Obama and his national security team directed the creation of an intelligence community assessment that they knew was false. They knew it would promote this contrived narrative that Russia interfered in the 2016 election to help President Trump win, selling it to the American people as though it were true. It wasn't.
Gabbard got her hands on a House intel report that's been locked away in a CIA vault for almost a decade. Investigators spent over 2,000 hours looking into how the Russia hoax was born, interviewing 20 CIA and FBI officials. And it turns out that the Obama administration doctored the intelligence to make it look like Putin and Trump stole the election. A month after Trump beat Hillary, Barack Obama wasn't
You don't say.
satisfied with his intelligence reporting and ordered his CIA director to create a new assessment of how Russia interfered with the election.
Yeah, Colin, I missed 9 of those.
This was a highly unusual move. John Brennan handpicked 5 CIA analysts to write the assessment, and they were siloed.
Colin, I guess we both got to stop drinking. We missed 11 world wars.
None of them knew what the other was doing, and only one analyst was in charge of drafting this report. There was nothing routine about this, and it was a rush job to publish before Trump was sworn in. Nothing was coordinated with the other intelligence agencies either. Basically, this was home cooking for Barack Obama. There were 4 key elements from the assessment that were repeated over and over again and formed the basis of the Russia hoax and the Robert Mueller witch hunt. 1, that Vladimir Putin wanted Donald Trump to win. 2, Putin took action to help Trump win. 3, the Russians had blackmail on Trump. That was the Steele dossier. And 4, that the Russians tried colluding with the Trump campaign. None of any of this was ever true. There was no reliable intelligence to support any of these allegations. Senior CIA officials repeatedly refused to traffic in these allegations, but they were repeatedly overruled by CIA Director Brennan and FBI Director Comey, who insisted that they be pushed, even without verifiable evidence. The Obama administration cherry-picked the intelligence, lied about their sources, misquoted sources, didn't corroborate their claims, suppressed intelligence that ran counter to their narratives, and even used anonymous internet postings. Rank and file CIA admitted what they were doing violated their own tradecraft standards. There was a massive pressure campaign that came right from the top. CIA analysts say they received unusual directives from political appointees, the CIA director, and Obama himself. This is how the Russia hoax was born.
Donald Trump knows that the Russians helped him win in 2016.
Putin hated Secretary.
We need soap for their mouths, you know, like used to do with little kids. Use the soap on their mouths.
Clinton so much that the flip side of that coin was he had a clear preference for the person running against the person he hated so much.
It was Russia in a very systematic way and tried to interfere in the election and to try to advance.
She would think World War III was World War 111.
The prospects of Donald Trump being elected.
This was such a malicious disinformation campaign perpetrated on the American people that at one point, 60% of Democrats believed the Russians hacked our voting machines to help Trump win the White House. What this report actually shows is that the Russians just wanted to create chaos and undermine Americans' faith in democracy. Solid intelligence suggested that Vladimir Putin didn't care who won. He had no preference. But like most people, expected Hillary to win and had a little docket of compromising dirt on her, dirt that he never released. Now, if Putin wanted Trump to win, why didn't Putin drop the dirt?
There were high-level DNC emails that detailed evidence of Hillary's, quote, psycho-emotional problems, uncontrolled fits of anger, aggression, and cheerfulness, and that then Secretary Clinton was allegedly on a daily regimen of heavy tranquilizers. Then CIA Director Brennan and the intelligence
heavy tranquilizers
community mischaracterized intelligence and relied on dubious substandard sources to create a contrived false narrative that Putin developed a quote-unquote clear preference for Trump.
Now, if Clinton was on tranquilizers like the Russians believed, why didn't they leak it to help Trump win?
How credible was the information about Hillary Clinton's health?
All I have seen is what the intelligence.
Now today I seen something about the FBI is going to release some of the stuff on Weiner's laptop, and that's going to go quite a bit of information on Hillary and all those emails.
A committee have reported through their
she was making big bank using the State Department
investigation. I think the underlying point there is
big money.
Is that we understand from intelligence what Russia said that they had. And the important point here is that if they were trying to influence the election, as President Obama and James Clapper and John Brennan, everybody said they were doing in order to support Donald Trump's election, they would have released the most damning of that information.
Obama and his spy chiefs knew that Putin didn't prefer Trump over Hillary, but they cooked the intelligence to make it look like he did. Obama and his intel spies knew that Putin didn't collude with Trump and that he didn't even direct his people to help Trump win. But they put it out there anyway. In a sense, Barack Obama did exactly what Putin wanted, undermined Americans' faith in free and fair elections and caused chaos in our country. Barack Obama, the CIA, and the FBI were the ones doing what our enemy wanted.
Do you believe that any of this new information implicates former President Obama in criminal behavior?
We have referred and will continue to refer all of these documents to the Department of Justice and the FBI to investigate the criminal implications of this.
For even former President Obama?
Correct. The evidence that we have found and that we have released directly point to President Obama leading the manufacturing of this.
I think this is overlapping one of the videos I showed yesterday. All right, this is Biden's office away from home, so to speak, because he was so feeble, they didn't actually have him in the White House. Watch this.
You guys, I just finished a show. Look at the room that they put me in. We're in Biden's big Oval Office, everybody. And I've actually figured this out. I now know why. I now get it. Turn the camera around. There is a screen, teleprompter to the face. All I can say is the last administration was a disgrace.
Yeah, they were lying to us. He wasn't actually in the Oval Office. Probably couldn't even attend. I don't know.
I can't believe this is real life.
The question before us is the passage of House Bill 1312. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1312 has passed.
Oh, yep, this is real. Colorado has passed a bill that if you misgender your child, you will lose custody of them. There aren't enough.
They can come take your kid away for calling your daughter a her when they want to be called a dude. They can come take your kid away.
Butt cheeks in the world to hold on to for this. What?
Next will come lawsuits for that too. Like say they get older and you misgender what they don't want you to call them. It's ridiculous.
So in Colorado, you can lose custody of your child if you misgender them. Your child, the one you grew in your body and raised and loved,
indict him
can
now.
be taken away from you if you call them the gender that they are.
Marianne.
This is where we are in 2026.
I agree with you. Let me click that off so it's not there anymore. I couldn't even believe that they literally can do that. It doesn't even seem to pass mustard. Here's a conservative black woman destroying the Democrats. Here we go.
We ain't gonna fall out about it because I know it's been a few days, but I got the tea for you, so that's why you picked up, and you know it. You know it. So let's talk about this White House Correspondent Association dinner. The suspect used stairwells to avoid security with the presidential administration in the ballroom. He was staying on the 10th floor and they seen him leaving his room with a shotgun, handgun, and some knives in a black bag. I have seen city council members with tighter security than this. Y'all dropped the ball. Maybe he would have been perceived as a threat if he had some Arizona tea and a bag of Skittles. Anyway, let me tell you something, Democratic and liberal leaders, politicians, and entertainers.
Yeah, they totally mess them up, Tammy.
Taking advantage of your voter base because
I agree.
you know they can't think for themselves and you know they can't read
They
and
want to take
research
the
and
kids
form
away.
critical thought. That is wrong.
That's what they want. They want to take kids away anyways.
Every time you look in the mirror, you should be ashamed of yourself, okay? The blood is on your hands because you know damn well these people can't think for themselves and they're just going to do what you tell them to do. That's between you and whatever God y'all pretend to serve. Let's talk about Iran. Now, no, I got my cigarette. They offered to end their hold on the Strait of Hormuz if we remove the blockade. You know our sentiments on that. Fuck you. Because we've been trying to get along with y'all for so long and y'all basically act like we was chopped liver. So at this point, we don't give a damn. Fuck you. All right. Now, let me give you the breakdown of how we got here. Number one, we don't want these fuckers to have nuclear capabilities because they always on some bullshit when it comes to the United States. So Donald John Quavius said, I'm not the previous administration. You're not going to get pallets of cash. You're not going to get any uranium. But we going to shut down that base. They said no. So he said, you want to nuke? I can buck. Let me go ahead and take out your nuclear base. Tell you folks to get off the base because I don't want no casualties. I just want to take out the threat. He neutralized the threat. He took it out. So they want to get funny with him. He took out Rock and Roller Ayatollah and his homeboys. Then they replaced Rock and Roller Ayatollah and we took out the replacement. They replaced that replacement and we said, look, just because you look like you might talk shit sometime in the future, let's figure out what we're going to do with you. So mysteriously, he lost feeling in his legs and he shit on himself. And he was like, you know, I'm kind of humble. I don't want no smoke. Then he got some homeboys surrounding him and they put a battery in his back. And he said, fuck y'all. I'm going to just close down the strait because I'm going to disable y'all. Well, here's the thing. We got our own.
She tells she's country.
Real. So Donald John Quavius said, I see you. I'm going to raise you. Not only will you block your shit, I'm going to block your shit. So can't nothing get in and out. You can't determine nothing around here. We the big dogs. Now, look at you. I'm the captain.
EAU.
Let me tell you the science behind that. We blocked off their crucial shit because everybody
they're gonna double their production of oil.
You know what I mean? So now you can't make no money selling your product.
No child.
Not only that, you can't move no weight.
And a lot of them
now you got to stop production. And when you got to stop production,
and a lot of them are being coached to this in the schools. You're getting coached to, you're a different gender than you are.
Guess who's starving? Your distro. Schools. Your distribution can't make no money because they ain't got no product to move. Donald John Quavius said, my folks can afford to pay 50 cents extra for a little gas for about 2 or 3 weeks.
It's like $1.
Folks afford to starve for a few months. More. Call me when you're ready to talk about that peace shit that I was talking, homeboy. Checkmate. Now, link is in the bio. Summertime coming up. This really keep your beverages cold or warm, whichever one you prefer. And you know, as always, God bless you. God bless America. God bless Donald John Quavius Trump. I'm going to call you back probably tomorrow because there's so much shit that continues to happen. So
see, there's a lot of the younger blacks are waking up. It seems that way. And I'm glad it's the women. A lot of them probably didn't go to college. All right, we're going to delve into this districting stuff, which Democrats have been doing for years and years, and now we're finally starting to do it. So the Supreme Court came down today in favor of this. Here we go.
Good morning. Okay, so this at first blush here is a win for the plaintiffs who were not black plaintiffs. They were non-minority voters who challenged this decision. These two districts that were minority majority. Essentially, Louisiana had drawn up districts and then they were told in a legal battle that they had not represented black and minority voters sufficiently. They went back and drew a second district. So they had two of these minority majority districts. Well, then non-black voters sued and said, this is now violating our rights on the basis of race. So it looks like this is a 6-3 decision. There is one concurrence here, but it looks like the dissent sticks together with Justices Kagan, Sotomayor, and Jackson. But here's what the majority says. They say in some, because the Voting Rights Act did not require Louisiana to create an additional majority-minority district, no compelling interest justified the state's use of race in creating SB 8. That was those two new districts. That map is an unconstitutional gerrymander, and its use would violate the plaintiff's constitutional rights. Now, this opinion is almost 100 pages long, so we're going through to see if it says something more broadly about the Voting Rights Act.
Tammy.
That had been the fear on the left, that somehow this decision, if it was favorable for those challenging these maps, that it would somehow do a big chunk out of the Voting Rights Act. Haven't gotten to language that suggests that yet. It sounds like this decision.
I know when you're a kid, you play like I'm Superman, all that kind of stuff. When you're a little kid, you wouldn't literally go get surgery to try to become something like that, like a furry or something like that. You play act, you know, you have an imagination when you're a kid.
is primarily about
brain
what
isn't
happened in
developed.
Louisiana. So we'll keep digging through this. But for right now, it's a win for those who were challenging these two minority majority districts. Now, as we read through this and figure out the broader implications, there were 20 plus districts across the country that would have potential.
What they've been doing, the Democrats have been using this to get more Democratic seats.
Potentially lined
for a
up with
long
this
time.
decision. They could be open to challenges that they were drawn on the.
Now, this thing was only for Louisiana, but you can use that ruling and use it against all these other states that have all these gerrymandered districts.
Basis of race, or that it was the primary factor that was used in drawing those districts. Most of those are throughout the South. So we'll look to see if there's enough sweeping language in this particular decision that may have a domino effect on some 20 other districts. Could be huge for the midterms. We'll continue to read through.
You got it.
Yeah, I agree. Tammy's the one that said that. I got much more on this, actually.
You know, just at a 35,000 foot level, what Louisiana was trying to do, you could argue, is that they were trying to make sure that the minority voters in Louisiana had fair representation. That's why they sought.
That's not fair representation. You live in an area, that's what the way your district is, and you vote. You don't judge it by color.
To create a second district, and the court's saying you can't do that.
Yeah.
I guess if you turned it around and you said that, you know, the court's trying to create a second district for white voters, the court would not accept that either. So this all goes back to the Voting Rights Act. We've been reading about this for months, trying to figure out what they would decide. And they said what you created is illegal, Carrie.
Yeah, and that's right. And look, this has been tension between the Constitution and the Voting Rights Act. But I think this sentence in the opinion sums it up best. And this is, as Shannon mentioned, authored by Justice Alito. The Constitution almost never permits a state to discriminate on the basis of race. So at the 35,000 foot level, Bill, which is an answer to your original question, I think that's what this is about.
3 Democrats on the Supreme Court voted against that, though.
The second district was drawn on the basis of race. And look, I think we've seen a real shift away.
Now, if they plan, if they get control again, stuffing the Supreme Court with a whole bunch of liberals.
Away from that, not just in voting cases, but generally speaking. You know, we saw the Harvard case before the Supreme Court, the admissions case there.
Why is he lying now?
Colleges and universities couldn't base admissions based on race. That was a problem. And so we're seeing this new wave, I would say, almost of jurisprudence, where we're moving away from the way things were done in the past, where there was a lot of race-based things done, given what had happened in our country. But given how far our country has come since then, I think we're going to see more and more decisions that reflect, I think, where we are now.
Carrie, I know that this is brand new, but
yes, and I'm
based on this, would this decision affect the upcoming midterms in 5.5 months?
Well, I think that's yes. The short answer is yes, and the devil will be in the details in the decision. That's why there has been so much anticipation about this decision, why everyone's been waiting expectantly because of the impact it could have. And as Shannon mentioned, there are a number of districts around the country who are dealing precisely with this very issue. So those would be affected by this decision for sure. But we're still going through the opinion to see what's in here.
Yeah, it's actually big in a way. It's important. But if they, like I was saying, if they get control again, they're the House and the Senate and the presidency, they're going to put more Supreme Court justices on. They can add several, so that they can guarantee they win all the time.
The Supreme Court just issued a ruling on a potentially groundbreaking redistricting case that could impact, for many years to come, the power of minority voters in this country. It focuses on the constitutionality of Louisiana's congressional map and how it was redrawn. The justices determined if Louisiana lawmakers properly balance constitutional and Voting Rights Act protections. I want to get straight to CBS News chief legal correspondent Jan Crawford, who has been reading through the opinion. Jan?
Well, Major, we just got this ruling within the last couple minutes. The justices in a 6-3 vote, a decision written by Justice Samuel Alito for the other 5 conservatives, are striking down a second majority black district in Louisiana, ruling that state officials focused on race, and that amounted to an unconstitutional racial gerrymander. Now, this decision is a major one under the Voting Rights Act. It will go well beyond Louisiana. It's going to make it based on what we're seeing so far, it will make it harder for state officials to draw up these so-called majority-minority districts, which have been used for decades and have increased Black representation and minority representation in Congress. And it also, I think, will call into question about a dozen or so existing majority-minority districts, mostly in the South. Now, those districts, as you know, Major, have been a way for Democrats to pick up seats in some of those states, those red states in the South. So this ruling is a win, I think we can say, for Republicans. But legally, this is a Supreme Court that going back 20 years or more has been saying in case after case, a consistent line of cases, that the Constitution is colorblind. And that's why we've seen the Supreme Court do things like throw out affirmative action in college admissions. This line of cases, very consistent with the court's ruling today. What about the midterms? I think this ruling coming today, 6 months after it was argued back in October, may come too late to have an impact on these upcoming midterm elections. I think the focus will be going forward, limiting states from considering race when they're trying to consciously and intentionally draw up districts to increase minority representation. That means, Major, that you might not have as many of those kind of ink blocked states or states that have districts that zigzag like a Z, where they go from, like this one did, from Shreveport all the way down 250 miles to Baton Rouge, scooping up Black voters along the way to, again, pick up voters to get enough Black.
What they're doing is just trying to get more seats that way.
Voters there to have that majority. So I think, that will restrict some of those those districts for sure. Looking at this decision, it's 37 pages long. There is a dissent by liberal Justice Elena Kagan that appears to be longer than the majority, and it looks like a barn burner. She is saying that today's ruling will is gutting the Voting Rights Act and will call into peril some of the accomplishments that we've seen over that historic 1965 law that really...
The law is racist that they're doing.
...dismantled Jim Crow and systemic barriers to voting for Black people in the South. Of course.
What barrier are they having? They can still go vote. What difference does that make?
Of course, the Supreme Court today, as they have in recent decisions on voting rights, is saying the country has moved...
They're talking about liberal and conservative, and they want to make sure they get their liberals in. That's what they're trying to do.
Past that, it's time to stop intentionally focusing on race. And as Chief Justice John Roberts said in a case back in 2007, the way to end discrimination, race discrimination based on race, is to stop discriminating based on race. And this Supreme Court, with those 6 conservative justices, believes that racial preferences, whether it's in affirmative action, whether it's in redistricting, that can amount to unconstitutional race discrimination, Major.
Yep. Okay, here's some more on this. Oh, it didn't open.
So I think my favorite part of watching the reaction online today from the Virginia Supreme Court hearing on the redistricting vote that happened last week is watching all the Democrats and the leftist accounts act like a bunch of kindergartners, throwing little temper tantrums all over social media, so upset that a Supreme Court might actually demand that the legislature follow the Constitution that its own voters voted for. I know it's not fair that Republicans are better at redistricting using their state laws. I know it is not fair that Democrats should not be allowed just to break whatever rules they want in the name of democracy. Because remember, in order to protect democracy, you have to be willing to break a little bit of democracy. I get it. It is not fair that Republicans have more opportunities to redistrict around the country because Democrats already redistrict about everything they possibly could over the last several decades. I know it's not fair. And if you don't mind, I'm going to throw just a little bit of gasoline on top of your temper tantrum, if that's okay with you. Did you know that the Supreme Court in Virginia is not a radical left-wing court like the legislature and the governor and everybody else that's been elected recently? Did you know that the Supreme Court in Virginia actually leans a little bit to the right? Yeah, that's right. They're not actual radicals like most of the people who are demanding that democracy be broken in the name of democracy. And based on the types of questions that were being asked during that hearing today, the Democrats might actually be in a lot of trouble. They may not actually be able to make this happen. Now, it is certainly possible that the justices who want to be invited to happy hours and, the cocktail parties and they want to be able to rub elbows with all of the top officials in the state, they may actually say, you know what, go ahead, break whatever rules you want. We don't care because we care about coming to your parties. That's possible. But it's also possible that a right-leaning justice or 2 or 4 could vote and say, no, we have a process. The voters voted on that process. And if you don't like it, then you should change that process. But hey, I got some good news for you, Democrats who are throwing temper tantrums. While you guys are out there crashing out online, did you see that the governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis, released a new map that now Florida is going to propose? And you might have missed this during your crash out, but the Supreme Court ruled today that the Texas map, yeah, it stands. You see, they followed the rules too. So what's the moral of the story? If you want to gerrymander, you should follow the rules.
There's a little humor on this. Someone made this up about Trump spraying the map. Watch this. It's funny. I thought it was pretty cool. Okay, this is about Anthony Weiner's laptop and the insurance policy.
We never thought we were going to say thank you to Anthony Weiner.
The FBI is reopening its investigation into Hillary Clinton's email scandal. The Wall Street Journal reports 650,000 emails are sitting on Anthony Weiner's laptop. Thousands of those may involve Clinton's server, since Weiner was married to Clinton's top aide when she was Secretary of State.
To cover up her crimes, she bleached and deleted 33,000 emails after receiving a congressional subpoena.
A computer used by former Congressman Anthony Weiner and his estranged wife, Huma Abedin, is now the focus of new inquiries into Hillary Clinton's use of a private email server. Sources have told the Wall Street Journal's Devlin Barrett that there could be as many as 650,000 emails on the computer, with underlying metadata suggesting that thousands of those messages could have been sent to or from the private server that Mrs. Clinton used while she was Secretary of State. Why is this one laptop now so significant?
Anthony Weiner's laptop were ever released, the government would fall. Weiner's laptop had kill switches in it.
It was seized from Weiner as part of an investigation into whether he sent sexually charged emails to a teenage minor. The laptop hadn't previously come up in the Clinton email probe.
Did he know that you were only 15 years old?
Yes,
he did.
Her age was no deterrent for Carlos Danger. In an exclusive interview with Inside Edition, this minor says she first sent disgraced Queens Congressman Anthony Weiner a message on Twitter back in January 2016, when she was just 15 years old.
I just sent him a nice message, just, hello, I'm a huge fan.
She says she wanted to see if he was up to his old antics during last year's presidential election. Turned out he was.
I knew
I know
it
funny,
was
Marianne.
going downhill and really fast.
I think it'd be funny if he really did that.
She says the messages from the Democrat quickly turned obscene.
I was disgusted. That's part of the reason that I came forward.
At the time, Weiner's wife, Huma Abedin, was helping run Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign. The FBI's investigation of Weiner's laptop led to the discovery of a new batch of emails that Clinton had sent to Abedin. That led former FBI Director James Comey to reopen the investigation into Clinton's.
You wouldn't believe how sexually sick these people were, and even evil.
Use of a private email server while Secretary of State, just days before the presidential election. Inside Edition says it's withholding the girl's name because she's underage, but her father gave permission for her face to be shown. Weiner went on to plead guilty to a charge of transferring obscene material to a minor.
Just striking about this is that, announcement from James Comey in October of 2016, kind of saying that the investigation was being reopened here. Some people say that cost Hillary Clinton the election itself. But when we look at that incident and, not with all this other
her evilness cost her the election.
Information we have, what
that, and she was following Obama. She was part of all that in Benghazi.
Jumps out to you about that?
That was Comey trying to cover Comey, because they knew they hadn't done what they should have done with the Weiner laptop, and the New York Police Department officers who were honest were going to disclose all that. He just simply had to do it to try to save his own skin.
Because of Wienergate and the sexting scandal, the NYPD started investigating it through a subpoena, through a warrant, They searched his laptop and sure enough found those 650,000 emails. They found way more stuff than just the more information pertaining to the inappropriate sexting the guy was doing.
675,000 Clinton emails when they got Anthony Weiner's laptop in a search warrant because of all his sex perversion issues. It was all the Clinton emails, the Clinton Foundation.
I used to know a state senator from Virginia. It used to come on my channel once in a while. This is a long time ago. But believe it or not, his name was really Dick Black. Dick Black, or Richard Black, but Dick, he went by Dick Black.
Her Secretary of State emails, Huma Abedin's emails. Lots of people emailed Huma as a proxy for Hillary.
They found State Department emails. They found a lot of other really damning criminal information, including money laundering, including the fact that Hillary went to this sex island with convicted pedophile Jeffrey Epstein. Bill Clinton went there more than 20 times. Hillary Clinton went there at least 6 times. The amount of garbage that they found in these emails of criminal activity by Hillary, by her immediate circle, and even by other Democratic members of Congress was so disgusting.
They needed to make a movie out of it.
They gave it to the FBI, and they said,
or a documentary would be even better.
We're going to go public with this if you don't reopen the investigation, and you don't do the right thing with timely indictments.
We're not talking about 1 or 2 emails. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of emails.
Yeah.
NYPD was the first one to look at that laptop.
I heard that the New York police officers who saw some of it, even though they're hardened investigators, literally had to go throw up. It's bad.
Somebody sent it to me. I would not advise you to have a look at it. She and her spokeswoman, they put a 5-year-old girl naked on a table, bind it, and then with a scalpel, they start to remove the face.
I've heard
and
this
you
before.
hear this child screaming, and they take off the face, and Hillary Clinton puts it on her face and goes to the child. And you see, the child is all flesh, and then the eyes pour out, and this child sees her own face on the face of Clinton. I will never forget that image, and never the scream.
And they used to do spirit cooking and stuff that.
That's how evil these people are.
I agree.
Supposedly 9 cops watched the videos on Weiner's laptop. They had to keep leaving.
They used to frighten the kids like that, and then they take their blood and they cook it and drink it. And they thought that gave them evil powers.
In the room because they couldn't stand what they were seeing. And all 9 are now dead. And there's names.
They're Antichrist.
And faces and deadness, right? They're real people. Now you can say, well, maybe they died for other reasons. I go, but it's still 9 cops.
There were a total of 12 individuals who saw Anthony Weiner's laptop computer. 9 of those 12 people are dead now.
Some sad news tonight. Another New York City police officer has taken his life. The second NYPD suicide in 2 days.
Well, Corey Thompson.
Anyone who knows anything tends to die, suicide themselves.
You know, with the latest suicide, the 8th this year, the 6th, just the last 2
I'm glad
months
she
alone.
didn't end up
Another New York
president.
Police Department officer has died by suicide, becoming the 9th to do so this year.
What'd you say
According to a law enforcement official, the 56-year-old officer was off duty and at home. On Tuesday, another law enforcement official told CNN that an 8th officer had died by suicide. A 35-year-old
Robert Echeverria died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound at home last night. The 25-year veteran officer's suicide came a little more than 24 hours after a 35-year-old officer took his own life. Commissioner James O'Neill is still struggling with the news.
You know, you think that, okay, this is going to be the last one. And last night, got a phone call, and I just did it. It just almost knocked me down. I just took the wind right out of me. I just, what the hell's going on here?
So far this year, there have been 9 NYPD suicides, 7 since June.
Let me pause this for a minute. I'm going to show you. This is who I'm talking about. That is his name, and he's a state senator, and he used to come on my channel. He's a nice guy, everything, but his name really is Dick Black. Unbelievable. He used to be a state senator in Virginia. I'm not even sure if he's alive anymore. See, January 19th, he posted something. Okay. Doesn't post that much. He's definitely way old. He fought in World War II. So I just wanted to show you. It really is his name. So, I didn't want to do that. Let me bring this back up. Here we go.
Last year, there were a total of 4.
We don't know why Nick did what he did.
Yeah, he didn't commit
Doug
suicide.
Budney's son, Nick, a 14-year NYPD officer, took his own life last year.
I just think it was a bad last decision.
Another NYPD officer has just died by suicide.
It was hard having him on saying that.
This year. News 4's Gus Rosendale is live at the site of the shooting in Queens. Gus, what can you tell us?
Yes, Ren, that officer was pronounced dead at Queens General Hospital just a few minutes ago, and now a number of other officers are here trying to figure out exactly what happened. This is the scene at 178th and Union Turnpike in Utopia, Queens. Little known about who this officer was and the circumstances surrounding this. Again, we just know this was an off-duty officer with a self-inflicted gunshot wound. He was rushed to the hospital where he passed away just a short while ago. Now, leading up to this, as you mentioned, there have been 9 previous suicides by active members of the NYPD happening this year in 2019.
I wonder how that happens.
Now that is a strange coincidence. Anthony Weiner is alive. Weiner shared the laptop with his estranged wife, Huma Abedin, a close aide to Hillary Clinton since 2000.
NYPD chief commits suicide 1 month before retiring, was directly involved in Anthony Weiner laptop computer evidence handling.
I wonder any of it also is they committed suicide because they couldn't handle what they'd seen.
A high-ranking New York City Police Department officer has died from an alleged self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. Deputy Chief Stephen Silks was found in an unmarked patrol car wearing civilian clothes Wednesday evening, just 1 month before he would turn 63 and face mandatory retirement. He allegedly shot himself in the head with the gun reportedly discovered beside him. He was very closely and heavily involved in the investigation of the laptop seized from the former Congressman Anthony Weiner, which allegedly held volumes of Hillary Clinton email evidence on it. A fellow officer told the New York Daily News that Silks was deeply committed to the job. Silks reportedly submitted his mandatory retirement paperwork the day before. Other sources, however, say that the deputy chief was heavily involved in the sex crimes investigations of former Democrat Congressman Anthony Weiner, and that the chief personally oversaw the evidence gathering from a laptop computer seized from Weiner in that investigation. The laptop is alleged to have contained numerous emails from Hillary Clinton during her time as Secretary of State and numerous files in a folder titled Insurance Policy, which reportedly
that's way too many.
Contain extraordinary details about child sex rings operated by and for use of high-ranking government officials nationwide. Ultimately, that laptop had to be turned over by NYPD to the FBI, who allegedly lost it. Rumors have circled for years that NYPD top brass took copies of the hard drive because they were suspicious of the feds in general and wanted to make certain that the evidence was preserved. One high-ranking NYPD official at the time the laptop was seized told media outlets he was sickened by what he saw on that computer, and if the feds did not pursue the necessary investigations, he would reveal what the laptop contained. It is now believed that Deputy Chief Silks was that official. No one is confirming or denying that information at this time. So, Deputy Chief Silks was one of the now 10 officers, and he allegedly was the one who oversaw the information on the Anthony Weiner laptop and made copies. Who else made copies? And who else has the information? Was it suicide? Probably not.
So one of the things, if I were the president, I'd do is demand the Anthony Weiner laptop and get it to the most trusted person in the military to take apart everything on it and then start using it. There's a lot that can be prosecuted. I have no doubt on that laptop.
Anthony Weiner's laptop were ever released, the government would fall. Weiner's laptop had kill switches in it. It was filled with crap that wasn't supposed to be there. We never get to see it. Supposedly 9 cops.
I wonder what was on all those Blackberries and stuff like that that Hillary smashed with a hammer.
Watch the videos on Weiner's laptop. They had to keep leaving the room because they couldn't stand what they were seeing. And all 9 are now dead. And there's names and faces and deadness, right? They're real people. Now you can say, well, maybe they died for other reasons. I go, but it's still 9 cops. You know, it's like the 5 cops who died after January 6th, right? 4 of them were suicides. According to AI, there were about 80 cops really in the thick of things. 4 of them died from suicide.
I don't know. Don't trust our government too much. All right, here's Harris emails exposed about Benghazi.
Suggest COVID-era loans to Planned Parenthood were discussed under a code word, Benghazi. Small Business Committee Chair Joni Ernst says the label may have been used to evade oversight. What's happening here? Alexandria Hoff is live from D.C. Hi, Alex.
Right, and a lot happening here. Senator Ernst has called on the Justice Department to investigate whether this code word was intended to illegally obscure communications regarding about $90 million in PPP loans. Planned Parenthood was prohibited from receiving the Paycheck Protection Funds during COVID because they're a national federation and not a small business. Well, in 2021, Senator Ernst and colleagues started to press the Biden administration on why the abortion provider was initially allowed to receive tens of millions of dollars. At that point, her office says communications regarding loan decisions began popping up with Benghazi as the subject line. That's a key word that would render the correspondence effectively unsearchable, according to Ernst.
Benghazi. What does that have to do with small business? Benghazi. Blatant use of a code word to conceal not only from those of us that are charged with oversight, but
it's probably killing other people that would on their side that it has something to do with something they're protecting.
From the American people, should they ever request information on Planned Parenthood and how they received those loans.
Yeah, the term Benghazi would have lumped any document into the trove of records related to the deadly 2012 attack in Libya. Dana.
Wow, what a code word, too.
Right,
thank you.
Right.
Hey, let's squeeze this in, shall we?
Shall we?
Before we go, a new celebrity taking San Francisco Bay by storm.
Oh, I thought it had something more. There's Glenn Beck on the biggest
because there
divide.
Is a third group, a third category that doesn't fit into this neat little two-sided argument of America. There is a faction, and it's mainly on the left, but it is now growing on the right. But the one on the left is active and organized, and they're not arguing about trade-offs at all, at all. Their goal is not better policies for working families under the American system. It is to overthrow the system itself, capitalism, the Judeo-Christian foundations of Western life, the nuclear family as the core unit of society. We're not talking about Democrats.
Socialist goal is to get rid of the family.
We are talking about radicals who have infiltrated the Democratic Party and convinced Democrats that they're arguing what I had just laid out. But they're not, because the power structure behind there are working to erode the roles of moms and dads, normalize gender confusion, accelerate medical interventions on children, pursue the Red-Green Alliance, the tactical marriage between Marxism and Islamist forces that will kill democracy outright. They align themselves with the World Economic Forum, with the top-down global governance that treat national sovereignty.
They want to get rid of America.
As a joke, individual liberty gone, traditional culture as obstacles to be managed or dismantled. And that's not just the Democrats. There are a lot of big progressive Republicans that want that too. My point is, the third group doesn't share the goal of the regular Democrat or Republican. The millions of working people, the parents, the small business owners that just want a safer street. They want to be able to afford groceries and good schools and have a fair shot. We can disagree with one another on real issues unless you're trying to tear down the country that gave
homeschooling
all of us a shot in the first place. We can argue that this isn't working. We can argue and say, hey, the dream of America is fading fast if we don't have a conversation. But we're not talking about compromises. What we're talking about is destroy the system. The radical faction wants it destroyed. They see crisis as the opportunity to accelerate the takedown. And that's why they pour every resource in convincing ordinary Democrats that Trump or anyone else who resists is not just wrong, not just a conservative, but a Nazi who has to be stopped at all costs, including street violence, assassination, whatever. Because once you can convince one side or the other that the other side is Hitler reborn, you stop asking questions about the actual agenda. America, you got to distance yourself from people who are trying to convince you this is all about, let's say, Donald Trump. Why is it every society in the Western world is going through exactly the same arguments? Why is it all of our countries are being torn apart? They don't have Donald Trump there.
I agree.
So what's
John?
Their excuse? Their excuse is whatever party is saying, hey, we should really not go down this road of the Red-Green Alliance or the WEF. There's a third category that no one is arguing. And if we can find our way to each other and say, I want the United States of America.
They won't be taught all that hate in school, because really what they're doing is teaching hate in school.
To remain free, to remain under the Constitution. I believe in the Declaration of Independence. We have big problems, but let's fix those and restore it.
Instead, on my platforms,
too many people are being convinced that destruction, that the destroyers are actually
on your end. Okay.
They're not. You're either a restorer or a destroyer. I don't think that we're destroyers. I don't think the average American is a destroyer. The destroyers are betting that we never figure this out. You better figure it out quickly, because I want to fix the country, and I think you do too.
I agree with them. And they are coming after us as a people, you know. They totally are. Let me go here next.
What happens when the minimum wage goes up? Well, California is getting an experiment in that right now. Just ask Gavin Newsom. California wanted to make sure fast food employees earn their fair share, and that's when 557,000 workers across 30,000 restaurants got an economic reality check.
It really doesn't work. So why don't you pay everyone $1 million an hour? Everyone would be a millionaire, right? What happens is, how much is a loaf of bread then? You know, it's irrelevant. It's productivity that increases wages.
1228 implemented a government-mandated pay raise for all fast food workers from $16.21 to $20 per hour. The bill requires annual wage increases of 3.5% and creates a special fast food council within the government. This council holds the power to set fast food wages until January 1st, 2029, when the council and its authority allegedly end. Because government programs always end. And if you're worried about this impacting your favorite restaurant, well, casual dining restaurants, buffets, smaller fast food chains, donut shops, snack shops, grocery stores, concession stands, most delis, restaurants within a grocery establishment, restaurants connected to an airport, hotel, event center, theme park, museum, or gambling establishment, and Panera Bread are all exempt from the law. Apparently, there's this weirdly specific exemption for restaurants that sell bread as a standalone menu item if it weighs at least half a pound after cooling. And Gavin Newsom pushed for that. You see, Gavin Newsom went to high school with Greg Flynn.
Yep, one particular person that's going to make big bank on this.
Greg Flynn owns the Flynn Restaurant Group. They own 2,300 chain restaurants across the U.S., and they're the second largest Panera franchisee in the world. Flynn has donated more than $220,000 to Newsom's campaign since 2017, and $100,000 of that was to defeat the recall. So for some totally unknown reason, he really wants this guy in office. When called on this eyebrow-raising exemption, Newsom said the deal is part of the sausage-making process.
I mean, that's part of the sausage-making. That was part of 257, the original bill, and there was part of the negotiation. It's the nature of negotiation.
So maybe he'll exempt meat shops next. After the bill passed, Assemblymember Chris Holden said,
"The rest of the country is watching what's happening in California."
And yeah, that's an understatement. 1 year after implementing the so-called FAST Act, we are finally seeing its effects, and they are exactly what you would expect. Rubio's Coastal Grill closed 48 locations across the state, Mod Pizza closed 5, and Pizza Hut laid off all 1,200
Don't worry, there'll be more.
Delivery drivers. In total, fast food employment decreased by 2.7%, which cost California 18,000 jobs. How much do you make per hour? After being fired, restaurants replaced employees with digital kiosks, and those who did keep their jobs saw their hours decrease by almost 2 months per year. AB 1228 is such a disaster, even CNN admits it's debatable job numbers. At the same time as Gavin Newsom's California lost fast food jobs, the sector has grown in the rest of the nation. To be fair, though, Newsom is responsible for some exceptional growth. Fast food prices are up more than 13% since the law took effect. So, are Californians finally waking up to the unintended consequences of minimum wage?
That's higher than inflation.
Hikes.
Yeah, great job, isn't it? It's padding the people's pockets that donate to them. All right, here this is about this guy's advocating to stab anyone who's against trans, any transphobes.
It'd be so much easier for everyone. The entire world would be so much better if we could just stab a transphobe. Say something transphobic, you get stabbed.
Don't agree with the way people think? Stab them. I mean, there are multiple studies that show that the older somebody gets, the less likely they are to engage or at least react in a way that causes physical violence. In 2019, the percentages of students in grades 9 through 12 who reported having been in a physical fight during the previous 12 months were higher for 9th graders, 26%, and lower for 12th graders, 18%. And as you can see, it went down each year by 2 or 3%. Kids' brains are still developing. Our brains do not even fully develop until the age of around 25, 26 years old.
Yep. Here's 34,000
North Carolina State Board of Elections
dead people still voting in North Carolina.
Has identified approximately 34,000 deceased individuals on the state's voter rolls. It comes following a data comparison with a federal database.
Not surprised.
On April 17th, the state board submitted nearly 8 million voter records to the Systematic Alien Verification for Entitlements database, SAVE for short, as part of its initiative to strengthen the accuracy and integrity of the state's voter registration list. The comparison of voter registration records with the SAVE database is intended to identify any non-U.S. citizen on the voter rolls and ensure that only eligible individuals are registered to vote in North Carolina.
Yeah, they stuff the ballots too. And the same, like Virginia used to be a red state, but now that they've got mail-in balloting and voting for 45 days before an election is ridiculous. Then the Democrats started winning the state because they can go up in Fairfax and that and stuff the ballots real bad. There's more on Newsom.
America's fraud investigations bring us to the golden state of California. Look at this number, $146 billion. Health and Human Service officials confirmed that number to Chris Rufo as the staggering amount of fraud in a single program in Gavin Newsom's state Medicaid system. Stop and think about that. $146 billion, a single program, a single state. That is slightly more than Warren Buffett's estimated net worth. It is more than the GDP of several small countries like the Marshall Islands and Dominica, just to name a few. And it is well over $100 billion more than the most valuable NFL team, the Dallas Cowboys. That is just for Medicaid, just in California. So imagine what the total number of fraud is when you count all the social programs in all 50 states. The Trump administration is imagining that, and they are now taking action in a stunning raid of hospice facilities in Gavin Newsom's California. Now, just this week, the Justice Department announced 8 people were arrested accused of defrauding the state out of more than $50 million. That includes one couple who runs a hospice care center in Anaheim. And in dramatic fashion, authorities swarmed their residents, sawing through the metal front gates of the property and used a loudspeaker to get them to come outside. The couple is accused of defrauding taxpayers to the tune of $7 million. And according to reports, their center has been a problem for years. Over the past 5 years, they reported more than 97% of their patients lived, and that's in hospice. That is unheard of. 90% of patients, on average, die less than 6 months after admission.
Yep. How to fleece the people. That's what they're doing. Okay, here's a 16-year-old in Charlotte. Has 270 criminal charges and still harming people. And they're still letting him out because he's 16-year-old.
This is Jonah Oliver. We typically would not show you the mugshot or share the name of a 16-year-old.
But there's liberal judges that keep letting him out.
But after being charged 275 times and now facing charges in adult court, we are the latest example, some say, of a repeat offender problem when it comes to juveniles in our community. 2 weeks ago, police say
probably he'll take anything he can get, John.
Oliver and another person carjacked a man with a gun moments after the victim pulled out of this Shell gas station on Statesville Avenue. Then the next day, detectives say Oliver shot into this home on Columbus Circle in West Charlotte's Ashley Park neighborhood. Police say it was affiliated with a rival gang member. 2 cars were also shot into here. Nobody was hurt. Detectives pinned Oliver to both crimes and say they found these firearms inside the home where the teen lives. 2 of them had switches, turning them into fully automatic firearms. Through court documents, I learned Oliver is the same juvenile who police were talking about here at their mid-year public safety news conference in July.
This one juvenile racked up 275 charges from 8 local jurisdictions. Over 100 of these charges were for breaking and entering into vehicles and larceny of autos. Think about that for a moment. 275 charges in less than 3 months.
Lieutenant Allison Sudreth is with CMPD's Juvenile Accountability and Diversion Empowerment Unit, known as JADE. She could not talk about Oliver's case, but says it is one example of many juveniles not being held accountable.
We see the same offenders recommitting. It is very saddening, but it again, this takes a village of a team of people to correct this problem.
Lieutenant Sudreth says as a mom herself, she is passionate about the work the JADE unit does, trying to hold teens accountable, but also help them too.
There's probably not an officer who signed up for this that didn't want to help the community, and that includes juveniles.
There's these liberal judges that keep letting them out.
Because they start and we don't want to see them later on in our career.
But she adds, something has to change to fix the problem.
We rely heavily on our judges, and so we need stronger detention when applicable for high-risk juvenile offenders.
He never learns a lesson. If they're never punished, they think they can get away with anything. All right, I'm going to end with this one. This is about climate change and the bull crap of it. This lady used to be on the left against the climate change and found out that it's a lie. It's really about stealing our money.
I feel you. You're not alone. And it is really scary. If you do a little bit of research, you can really learn a lot. And it's pretty hard to go back. And boy, does it make you anxious.
That's the leftist pushing for it. And she used to be on the left too and said it's bullcrap.
But I think.
Okay. She said, if you do a little bit of research, well, we're going to do some research
Climate change bullshit.
All right, let's do some research showing the research of Matthew Alecki, an American geoscientist. He used MDAT data, which is the world's most widely used database for tracking disasters. And he mapped them into this graph showing that even with rising emissions and record heat, there's been no increase in climate-related disasters. You can take a pause here and take a look at all that. So since the year 2000, disasters have been flat. Awesome. Now let's look at this. Global food production of fruits, vegetables, and nuts from 1961 to 2022. What do you notice? Production's gone up across the board, which shows as a society, we're really great at producing products that people want to eat and consume. And nothing about this so-and-so climate crisis that everyone has anxiety about is preventing all of these great fruits and vegetables from getting to market. And I have a feeling that maybe extra CO2 might have something to do with it because we're going to keep doing research here. Let's look at what happens when you add more CO2 to a greenhouse. Look at these trees. When you have lower levels of CO2, they're smaller. As you go up and to the right, the more CO2 you add, they're bigger. Right now we're at 420 parts per million. And in this chart, the small trees was 385 ppm. This is like how much CO2 is in the atmosphere. And as you can see, even up to 835 ppm, which would be double what we have in the atmosphere now, that tree seems to be doing pretty good. But we're going to keep researching because did you know we are in a actual low point for CO2 levels in our atmosphere. If you look,
maybe the judge should go to jail if they let too many out and they do something.
Look at this nice chart going back millions of years. Where we are is significantly low CO2.
Okay, Kirk, this is the last video anyways.
Evidence here that the fruits and the trees like the CO2. We're already at a low level. We're adding a little bit more. So far, the research I'm doing is making me feel pretty good.
I think my advice is, goddammit, we can actually make a difference if we work together and, you know, fight for what we believe in.
Okay, let's work together. And you know what's so great about this is we already are working together. We're already making the planet a better place. And how do I know this? Because look at climate-related disaster deaths from 1920 to 2025. They were down 97.5%. This was put together by Borg. So deaths from floods, droughts, storms, wildfires, they're at record lows, even with our population booming in that time. So we have worked together. We have solved this problem. The planet used to be very dangerous for us. It was uninhabitable. And we have tamed nature and made it better for everybody. Another chart. We're still researching here, guys. This is a chart. It's the world's CO2 emissions, it's the GDP per capita, it's the world life expectancy, and it's world population, starting tracking, you know, for the past 2,000 years. And you can see that all of these things went up and to the right at the same time, which was the mid to late 1800s. And what happened in that time? We discovered oil, coal, and then eventually natural gas, which is what releases the CO2. So what you see is when CO2 emissions went up, then world GDP per capita went up, then life expectancy went up, and now world population has gone up. So when she says we should work together to defend what we believe in, this is what is worth defending. Reliable energy in the form of fossil fuels that is not making extreme weather worse, that CO2 emissions the plants love, and that we've already tamed the world to be a great, awesome, thriving place. So like, you don't need to buy the climate tickets at Billy's concerts, guys. Like, we're good.
Yep. See everyone tomorrow. Thanks for hanging in. Yeah, disbar them. If they started doing that when you have too many, if you let too many out, that you should be going to jail too. Like if they do too many serious crimes, they should have, even say you're a bad person, go into a halfway type thing for a while to see if you're going to be good and that kind of stuff. All right. Take care. God bless everyone. I tried to time it exactly at 7. Bye-bye.